What's up, everybody, and welcome back to episode 7 of Jet Lag. We got a lot on our agenda today, so let's get right into it. All right, we're back post Super Bowl Sunday. Congratulations to the Philadelphia Eagles. They smoked the Kansas City Chiefs. Wasn't particularly a game the whole way through. Parts of the game, the Chiefs had a chance to kind of come within a score, come within 2 scores of the game, but Eagles just absolutely dominated them. They pressured Patrick Mahomes. But let's get right into the agenda, kind of what we'll get into. First, giving my thoughts on the Super Bowl, kind of everything around it, halftime show, commercials, and all that. And then the big news of our universe, Jets fans. I'd rather be talking about the Jets playing the Super Bowl this time next year. That's highly doubtful, though. So we're going to talk about the Jets moving off from Aaron Rodgers, everything between the salary cap explanation, potential quarterbacks for next year, and some players reacting to the news of Aaron Rodgers not going to be with the team moving forward. Then we got kind of the outlook for next year. We'll have my new segment, Jet Fuel or Jet Fool. Some important off-season dates, and then that should do it. We got ourselves a nice little schedule for the evening or whatever time you're watching this. So let's get right into it. So we're going to focus on the Super Bowl to start, kind of the big hoopla around the week. This week, obviously, the past 2 weeks have been building up to that. It was a bad game, if we're being completely honest, for any other fan that is not a fan of the two teams playing. If you're a Chiefs fan, you're saying that was a horrendous game as well. Besides Eagles fans, the game was horrendous. Eagles absolutely dominated, wanted a better game. I would have took 2 years ago, Chiefs-Eagles, over this disaster. Pat Mahomes looked really bad. The Eagles kind of just pressured him, and that defensive line was just too much for Patrick Mahomes to handle. And sometimes Mahomes just absolutely looked like a rookie back behind his line. His line looked outmatched, and the defensive backs capitalized on it, including Cooper DeJean, the birthday boy, as well as Saquon Barkley's birthday. So 2 pretty good birthday presents for those two. The Eagles' defense and supporting cast around Hurts just makes it easy for Jalen Hurts to ball out. It's that team, how Howie Roseman kind of built that squad around his quarterback, just makes it so easy for Jalen Hurts to play his game, kind of just not even be a game manager because he makes plays, but he does what he needs to do to get the job done for his team, whether that's contributing to the run game or dropping a dime to Jahan Dotson in the first quarter, might have been the first drive, I don't know. And congratulations to Jalen Hurts and on winning Super Bowl MVP. The rest of the Eagles are the standard. I have that written down. They are kind of the way you want to build a team nowadays. You got to load up that defensive line, load up on the trenches. I have a tweet, and I'll pull it up right now. It reads, so this is in reference to the Eagles' kind of draft success and free agent signings. It reads, I said, looking at the draft history, I take away 3 solid points that every franchise should follow. Draft best player available. 2, only draft need if you absolutely love the player on the board. 3, trenches. They win you championships. And if you look at the Eagles' offensive line, they have all pros, Pro Bowlers on every side. Their defense, they have in Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat. They signed Bryce Huff to a massive deal with like $35 million guaranteed, and he wasn't even active. That just shows you how deep this team was, the depth, the energy this team was built around. They dominated. They dominated the line of scrimmage. The Eagles had a pretty good. Chiefs slowed down Saquon, but Hurts also broke a couple of runs for 10, 12 yards, and they kept the Chiefs' defense at bay. The offensive line was fine. It was great the whole year, and the defensive line absolutely loaded and shut down Patrick Mahomes there, and their running game had like no rushes, no rushing yards at all. But yeah, I think you draft best player available. You only draft need if you love the player on the board. and you have to really build up your trenches to be successful, and that's what the Eagles kind of did, which makes it easier for your defense. When the defensive line is constantly getting pressure, it makes the defensive backs and linebackers' job so much easier. And when you have all day behind the line of scrimmage and your offensive line could dry block someone 10 yards down the field, it makes Saquon look like an absolute beast. And we saw that all of this year. Let's get into kind of the Jets. That's it for the Super Bowl. The NFL product, I feel like, has been down. There was really no animosity all year. The one big storyline was like the Chiefs three-peating, which didn't even happen. Minimal animosity kind of team. It was kind of chalk this year, which you hate to see that as a fan of a crappy team like the Jets, because you like to see. Jaden Daniels and the Red Commanders. That was like the one big story throughout the whole year, kind of the underdog story. So that was cool to watch. But other than that, I feel like the game, a lot of bad quarterback play. The games weren't really anything special besides a few of them. Yeah, it was an okay season, nothing special. And we'll see about next year. I feel like next year has a lot of potential to be better than this past year. So let's get into the Jets the Jets side of stuff. So a report came out early Super Bowl Sunday by Jay Glazer stating that the Jets were basically moving on from Aaron Rodgers. They met in New Jersey. Aaron Rodgers flew to New Jersey to meet with Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji and whoever, I guess, was in that meeting. And they basically told him, well, I'll get into the report what they said. They basically parted ways. And at first I was like, oh, I didn't really believe it at first. But then like multiple reporters started like kind of chiming in and confirming this report. And a report came out today. I'm filming this on a Tuesday, a little early, and I was hoping we would get some clarity before I filmed the podcast this week about what happened in that meeting. And we did. And this is what happened. So the report from Diana Rossini reads, quote, I was told that when they had conversations with Aaron Rodgers about what the future would look like, if you're going to be a part of this team, you're going to attend all of training camp. You're not going to do Pat McAfee interviews anymore. They had a conversation with him of, if you were to stay here, here's how we would want it to be. So this to me is Aaron Glenn getting control back, and I couldn't agree more. Now, going off of that, I wouldn't have done this. Well, let me put into perspective. I wanted Rodgers back, but I wanted it to be on Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji's terms. And they were welcoming back with open arms if Aaron Rodgers agreed on these simple terms of not doing the McAfee show and showing up to training camp and being one of 53 players on the roster, or one of 52, however many players are on the roster. Rodgers isn't allowed any special privileges. He's just another player. He's the quarterback of your team, but he's got to lead by example. If you're going to be the leader of this football team, if you're going to be the player that, if you're going to be the quarterback of this team and the player that honestly means the most to this team, you have to lead by example. You can't be going to Egypt for training camp, and you can't be making distractions on the McAfee show, even though it may have been harmful. But I do like how Aaron Glenn is kind of laying the law down. They were saying, listen, you're going to be back, but I'm not dealing with any other BS, any other kind of shenanigans on the side. I don't want you going on McAfee. You're going to stick your head down. You're going to go to work, and you're going to show up every day and work hard with your teammates. You don't need to go on any social media outlets, YouTube, McAfee. You don't need to go on any more trips. You're retiring basically in a year or two. You have all the time to do whatever you want after you play football. But if you really mean to try and win this franchise games next year and a playoff berth, maybe even a Super Bowl, then it has to be on Aaron Glenn's terms, and it has to look like you're motivated like a 26-year-old Aaron Rodgers would be. And listen, I couldn't be more happier with how Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji, or whoever was in the room when they made that decision, I couldn't be more happier with how they handled it. I'm glad they didn't just kind of let Aaron Rodgers push them over. And yeah, I mean, they had their laws down. Glenn basically said, "This is my team now, and this is what we're gonna do. I'm your coach," and that's what happened. So the Rodgers era is finally over. That it's been kind of really dark 2 years. It was so promising that 2023 summer going into it when we made that trade, and then it all crumbled from the fourth snap of that 2023 season, and then the 2024 season just never lived up to expectations, and you hate to see it that way, but I'm glad they're kind of moving on now, and they made a decision. So that's the decision. There's going to be no more Aaron Rodgers in 2025. It sucks how the way it ended. I'm happy he tried to help us, and I wish him luck in the future, whether he is a quarterback for another team or retiring. I mean, he had a pretty insane career, one of the best of all time. So we'll see. But there is certain ways how the Jets are going to have to handle this now. The salary cap is kind of a problem. And there's this article, I'll read it. I think it was Rich Cimini. He said if Rodgers doesn't play for the Jets in 2025, if he's cut or retires, the Jets have a $49 million dead charge, which is accumulation of prorated bonuses from past years. That's a substantial cap hit, more than double his cap charge if he's on the roster. The $49 million can be spread over 2 years by designating him a post-June 1st cut, $14 million in 2025 and $35 million in 2026. But in my opinion, if you're moving on from Aaron Rodgers, just take that $49 million right on the chin this year. I don't want $35 million hanging over the head of this team next offseason, because what happens if this team somehow has nine wins next year and you're like, okay, we're within striking distance of a playoff berth. We're within striking distance of a conference championship. You're going to want that money to keep building that roster to the end goal. So just take it on the chin this offseason, even if it means kind of sucking a little bit more this year, and then, see the vision for the future. You gotta see it through, and hopefully just no more Rodgers, no more money, and that whole era of New York Jets football is just wiped, clean slate, and we have the Aaron Glenn era, not Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, it's kind of a lot. I mean, in my opinion, it's shocking. I thought he was gonna come back for sure, because I thought, in my opinion, Aaron Glenn was gonna want to try and don't get me wrong, he's 100% gonna want to try and win games, but on his terms. Aaron Rodgers wasn't willing to meet those terms, so that's what happens. He's the coach. He makes the rules. It's not the Aaron Rodgers show. It's the New York Jets show, and I think that was the whole problem these past 2 years, a year and a half, however long. And some of the players, I mean, Quinnen Williams, and specifically, his tweet basically was another rebuild year for me, and this kind of alarms. It doesn't really alarm me yet. But he took it down. He deactivated his Twitter, and it is. I can't imagine some of these players. Sauce Garrett, Quinnen, who's been here for over 7 years now, I think. AVT, kind of the guys that've been here for a little while. CJ's been here for a minute. I mean, a lot of young guys are still just the stench of losing reeks in this building, and I get that it's frustrating, and a lot of these players kind of loved Rodgers. I get it. He was probably a better teammate than the media portrayed. But I'm glad that it got taken down, because that makes me think maybe Aaron Glenn shut this down. Maybe he texted Quinnen on the side and was like, listen, no, we're not doing this anymore. You're not going to social media. If you have a problem, come to me, and we'll talk like men. You're not going to air something out on Twitter. You're not going to air something out on Instagram. If you have a problem, deal with it internally. That's something Aaron Glenn's going to have to try and fix with this team, is to make sure this team gets behind him and sees his vision through. They're gonna be able to win some games next year with the right mindset. Listen, they might not have the talent at quarterback, but I think little tweaks on the defense, and we'll get into it down the road of this agenda today. But I think they have a chance to win some games. I could also see it going the totally other way, but they're gonna have to follow Aaron Glenn, see his vision, and just put your head down and work hard, and kind of shut down the social media crap. And hopefully this philosophy with Aaron Glenn, kind of laying the law down, being that hard-nosed coach, saying he's not taking any BS from any of outside sources, no media, no social media. This is a football team. This is how you change a culture. And moving on from Rodgers, there is the question now, who is under center week 1 in 2025 for this team? You have Tyrod Taylor. Justin Fields is a free agent. Sam Darnold's a free agent. Who else? I mean, Jameis Winston's an option. Kirk Cousins is out there. And then you have a rookie. I think Tyrod Taylor is kind of the betting favorite. If it were up to me to be quarterback of this team, I think he's making not a lot of money. It's kind of he knows football. He's a veteran. And then you got these other guys. Fields. I feel like Fields is going to demand upwards of 15, 20 mil per year. I don't know if the team is willing to shell that out right now, obviously, because if they do have to pay off Aaron Rodgers' contract, that could be an issue. I don't think they're going to shell out Darnold money, plus the history with the Jets and the MetLife Stadium. I think the Jets and Aaron Glenn's going to want a clean slate, unless I could totally see it going a different way. Darnold has had a resurgence. He looks really good. Then you have a rookie, and I think they're definitely going to draft a rookie quarterback this draft. I'd be very surprised if it's with the 7th pick, but I can almost guarantee either a trade up back in the first and definitely a day 2 or 3 quarterback they will be picking. But we'll see. This is the first time in a while. I have no idea who's going to be quarterback. A couple, like when they drafted Darnold, you knew they were going to get either Baker, Darnold, Josh Rosen, Josh Allen, one of those guys. Zach Wilson, it was kind of like, okay, we know we're going to draft a rookie quarterback. And then when Zach Wilson kind of flunked out of the team, we knew we were going to get a veteran. We knew those names that were being tossed around, Aaron Rodgers. So it's been a couple years since we've been in this kind of quarterback question. So we'll see. Hopefully they make a correct decision, and not just a correct decision, a smart decision. And that leads us to the outlook for next year. So the stopgap or bridge, if we're being completely honest, you ask any other fan of any other team, the stopgap or bridge probably means another unsuccessful season, if we're being completely honest, with a first-year head coach. We've seen these first-year head coaches kind of be out of the ordinary and have success with a veteran quarterback, or even a rookie. What's his face? Texans quarterback Texans coach DeMeco Ryans had a lot of success first year with a rookie. Dan Quinn, his first year just had a success with a rookie, but so there is a chance we do have some success with a rookie. There's a chance we also have a success with a stopgap or bridge, and that could be like a Kirk Cousins, which I'm not the biggest fan of. That could be a Fields who could turn out to be like the Baker Mayfield of this free agency class, where he changes teams a couple times, finally finds the right quarterback coach and offensive scheme, and he just turns out to be an absolute baller, which would be best case scenario, I think, if that were to happen and they were to sign Fields. But yeah, it does kind of mean there is a unsuccessful season kind of looming. Listen, looming over us. I won't say it's going to be unsuccessful if they finish 7-10, but there's a lot of things that depend on what an unsuccessful season is. If the expectations aren't really there yet, we don't know who's going to be under center, so we can't really put an expectation or number of wins on this team just yet. But if I were to guess, it's going to be somewhere between 6 and I think 9 is going to be their ceiling, considering the quarterback options for the fall. And, we'll see. The veteran kind of may give us the best chance to win. But you never know with these rookies, man. It's like playing Russian roulette. You either smash one or it could absolutely be an insane bust. And as a Jet fan, we know how that feels. I think something that Glenn has done well these first couple of weeks is just shown through this report today, Tuesday, February 11th, that he's going to take no BS this year. Kind of if you're going off sides, if you're false starting too many times, he's going to let you know, like, you got to let's go, or you're going to be sitting on the bench. And I like that from him. I think that's what this team needs the most right now. I think they need to be disciplined. They need to be kind of reprimanded. They need to know the consequences for making mistakes. And listen, a physical mistake's one thing. If you miss a tackle, that can be corrected in practice. If you something that's physical, it's gonna happen. One of these guys are gonna make a crazy catch on you if you're a corner. But it's the mental mistakes, it's the penalties, it's the constant holding calls, the constant jumping off sides, the constant roughing the passers, the constant late hits that are hopefully going to be changed because of Aaron Glenn's no-nonsense policy. Yeah, I mean, that's been a lot. It's a lot so far. The Jets are in a pretty... I wouldn't say it's refreshing just yet, but it is a little bit refreshing to see someone actually have a spine in this building and kind of, who's the boss right now. And I think Aaron Glenn, if he keeps making decisions like this with a level head and not making any irrational decisions, I think success could be down the road. But we'll take it one step at a time, one day at a time, just like he is. And as a fan, we're going to have to be a little bit more patient. I know we're impatient. We're the completely opposite of patient right now. It's been 15, 14 years since a playoff berth. But we'll get there. I really hope the light is closer at the end of the tunnel than it was yesterday. So let's get into my new segment from last week, or the semi-new segment, Jet Fuel or Jet Fool. New logo for it. I'll pop it up on the screen. It's pretty cool. AI generated. And so this tweet, Jet West at Jets to the West, he tweets, I desperately wanted Rodgers to work out. It didn't. It's better to tear the Band-Aid off now than to potentially make another oopsie and be tight financially 2 years in a row rather than one. That's Jet Fuel. I 100% agree. You take that cap hit on the chin this season, so you have no more Aaron Rodgers to worry about, no more money you're going to be paying him in the future. That way, next year, next offseason, you're ready to strike. You're ready to go for it. You're ready to make some noise in the playoffs, and let's go. Like, you can't be having financial decisions restrict you in the long run. So I agree. That's Jet Fuel. He's 100% correct. As for this tweet, it's by U Stadium, or kind of ESPN's Rich Cimini. U Stadium kind of just paraphrased it. And it was Rich Cimini's early prediction for the Jets starting quarterback in 2025, which was Kirk Cousins. He says, Cousins fits what this team is going for as a quote-unquote team-first guy and will come cheap. If/when released, the Falcons would owe Kirk $27 million, and he would sign with the Jets for about $1.2 million. I agree with probably 75% of this. I like the team first guy. I like the cheapness of him. And I like how it would be a stopgap quarterback. So the only thing that I don't really like about it is Kirk Cousins, the player. I think he's kind of cooked. He was definitely not the same player as he was 2 years ago. This year he kind of looked like a statue. He couldn't move in the pocket. And as we're seeing more and more in today's game, you have to be able to maneuver the pocket. You have to be able to run around, scramble, break sacks. It's just, we can't be having another player back there that can't move around, can't extend plays. And I know Rodgers kind of picked it up. He was kind of extending plays towards the end of the season, but it was too late. That's why I really like a guy like Fields. I think Jameis Winston can move good enough. I think Darnold can move. I think a bunch of the free agents can move. But Kirk Cousins, the player, I do not want. I just think he wouldn't really be the best fit for our offense in 2025. We'll see what the offense is going to look like with the new OC, Tanner Engstrand. I think that's how you pronounce it. As for the important offseason dates, shout out to Ozzy at Ozzy NFL. I really like his page. He does a great job with like scheduling and stuff, the NFL schedule release, and I don't know. It's just a very cool page. Check him out. So yeah, he tweeted February 24th to March 3rd is the NFL Combine, and we'll get into plenty of Combine stuff, plenty free agency stuff, mock drafts, you name it. We got a lot of time. Only 200 something more days until week 1, so it's gonna be a long grind during the off season, but we'll see what this team does. March 4th is the deadline to franchise and transition tag players. March 10th is free agency and negotiating period begins. So that's basically when players and teams can verbally agree on deals. And then March 12th is the 2025 NFL league year that officially begins, and that's when teams can actually sign players, pen and paper. March 30th to April 2nd, annual league meetings. May see some trades around then. And then the draft's April 24th, in the next 3 days. The schedule releases in May. I love the schedule release. And the kickoff is September 4th. So we got a lot of long days ahead of us, long months. But let's soak it in. Hopefully the ship starts to turn around and we get some wins these next couple of seasons with Aaron Glenn. So that's going to do it for episode 7. Kind of all over the place, a lot of stuff with Aaron Rodgers. Sorry if it was kind of messy, but hopefully this is one of the last few episodes I'll be mentioning Aaron Rodgers' name. Nothing against him, just we need to kind of refresh this franchise and look towards the future. All right, that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks.